Welcome to Sideline Sports, joined by Jon Shearer, Jake Malik, and special guest Joe Zagorski. A couple of things to go over tonight. Are the Nets frauds? The Yankees cheating scandal? And where in the world is OJ? Let's start with that. So we got Joe Zagorski with us tonight. Joe's writing a book on the 73 season of OJ Simpson. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
So, on Facebook, I'm friends with Joe, and I came across his post a couple of weeks ago, how excited he was that he got a chance to sit down and interview O.J. Simpson, the Juice.
Yep.
The man who 1973 rushed for, how many yards did he have, Joe?
2003.
2003 yards. Just imagine how many yards that was. And that was in a 14-game season, not a 17-game season that we have now.
Yeah, well, his record has since been broken, and it'll get broken again with 17 games. Yeah, but he's the only man to do it in 14 games.
Yeah, that's amazing to think. John, what does that come out to per game, John? Let's go. Quick math.
Man, I'll have to think about it. You said 2003 and 14 games.
Yeah.
Whew. That's over 125 yards a game because 16 games, 125 yards is 2,000. So, I mean, that's a lot.
Well, in 11 of those games, he rushed for over 100 yards. And 3 of those games, he rushed for over 200 yards. So
he would rush for about 2,250 roughly.
If he were playing,
if he had a 16 game, probably about 2,250.
Thereabouts.
At least.
If he stayed healthy.
That's easily breaking the record. At least.
Yeah, if he stayed healthy and stayed on that pace, without a doubt, he would have had that.
In a 16.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I think Eric Dickerson still has it at 2,100. So.
Wow. So how did this come about that you first of all decided to write a book about the 73 season? And then how did you get in touch with OJ for the interview?
Well, back in 2008, I decided to start writing books. And my first book was going to be on the NFL in the 1970s. And I sort of had in the back of my mind where I wanted to interview OJ for that book, but I could never find him. Then fast forward, I've written right now 4 books, 3 of which have been published. But I always kind of wanted to write about the 73 Bills because no one had ever written about them. And I thought, this is the 50-year anniversary. Certainly some people remember that, especially up in Buffalo, how even though they didn't make the playoffs that year, they finished 9-5 and they had a really good season. And of course, they set all these records thanks to O.J. Simpson. So I revved up the engines once more and tried to find O.J. I tracked him down at a penitentiary in Nevada where he was serving time, and I sent him a copy of my first book, but I never got word whether or not he received it or not. Didn't send along any, file or anything that he could bust out of prison with or anything like that, because then I would have probably gotten the chance to see him firsthand in prison.
Yeah, that would be cheating. And cheating is wrong, right, Jake?
That's right.
I will keep my comments to myself for now, John, because there is plenty to be said, and we will discuss that when it is appropriate. But John, we have a guest, so we're going to get through our guest first. Excuse me, sir.
Well, anyway, long story short, I realized that trying to find OJ was not going to be easy. So I decided to try and track down his manager. And I can't remember exactly how I found the name of his manager because it was a while ago. But I think I tried several different names and I sent several different emails out. And lo and behold, one guy answered back and it was OJ's manager. And I thought, wow, this is further than I've gotten anywhere else before with this endeavor. So I wrote to his manager and asked him, I'm trying to write a book on the 73 Bills. I've interviewed, I think, 7 or 8 players so far on it. And I'd really love to get OJ's take on it. And he wrote back and he said, he asked me what my intentions were and things like that. And I was really honest with him. I said, look, I don't plan on asking him any questions about anything other than his football career. I won't get into the 1990s at all or anything like that. So I sent him a list. I sent him a list of questions, figuring that he would see that I'm on the up and up. And almost incredibly, I got an email from him, and he said that OJ said okay to the list of questions and to the interview. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm finally going to get a chance to interview this guy. So a few weeks ago, his manager calls me up and he says, okay, you're going to have some time here with him. I'm going to let you know that any kind of reference to any kind of alleged crime that he may have committed will result in an instant hang up.
Right.
And I figured, well, I mean, I had promised these guys, I'm not going to do that. You gotta, I joke around a lot, but I've got a serious reputation. I want to keep it, for honesty. And, and I had promised these guys I'm not going to go there. And so I didn't. And then he gave the phone over to OJ, and it was a three-way conversation because his manager chimed in on several questions that OJ didn't have an answer to. So I knew it was a three-way conversation. But I couldn't see him like I see you guys here on this website. I could just, hear his voice and all. But it was definitely OJ Simpson's voice. I've heard him enough times to know it's him. And it was really phenomenal because here I was, I know a lot of my friends since then have said, how could you talk to that guy? I said, you don't understand. It's part for a book. It doesn't have anything to do with me.
You're a professional.
I try to be. Now that, so, it was really interesting. And I think the further we got along with the interview, the more relaxed Mr. Simpson was. And I really thought that we had some really good give and take there. I asked him some pretty good questions, and I got a lot of information from him that I couldn't find elsewhere. I mean, I've looked a lot of places, and I just couldn't find elsewhere. And he gave me some really great quotes that made it into the book. So
that's awesome. Now, I mean, was this because before we spoke, before we went on the air, we went over who you've interviewed.
Yeah.
Was this like your dream interview when you're sitting down of the list of people you want to actually have? Was OJ like the guy that you like made, I guess, your career?
No, not really. I mean, I don't really have that kind of a list. It's you try to interview people who are going to help your book. But I mean, there's other people that I would love to interview that I'm not writing a book on. So, I mean, I just love to just talk to them, if possible. I think about Michelle Pfeiffer all the time, but I mean, I just, haven't been able to interview her yet, so.
So if you had like a top three that you could interview, who would they be?
Top three. Oh, wow. Do they have to be alive or dead?
They could be either.
Both? How can you be alive and dead? No.
Crazy segue into John's mind. Let's go.
I think I'd probably like to interview Donald Trump. I think I'd like to interview George Washington, and I guess maybe one more would be Joe Namath.
Okay, interesting list.
Yeah.
Now,
two were presidents and one wasn't.
And then as far as your book, so you've written how many books so far?
Well, I've written 4, and 3 have been published. The 4th one I've been trying to get published for a while because it's been finished for a while. It's a biography on former Philadelphia Eagles free safety Bill Bradley. And I think that's my most humorous book because Bill is so humorous. Some of his stories are really incredible. And hopefully this September, I have a publisher narrowed down, and I hope they say yes, because I've been pleading with them and bugging them for the last year and a half now. So I hope they say yes. And I'm just getting ready to start looking for a publisher for the 73 Bills book. I just finished it. So
how long does the total process go when you're writing a book like that?
Well, when I wrote my first book, it took me 6 years, but I had a full-time job at the time. So I could only write in the evenings and on weekends. But now that I'm retired, I don't have any other job but writing. So I can finish a book within a year, typically.
So do you have I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but you have to stick with it. You can't all of a sudden get lazy. You just got to keep with it. But I'm not married, so that helps.
That's
you have extra time.
If I was married, it would be a difficult occupation, I think.
If you were married, you'd have more free time.
Instant free time.
Not as many chores to do.
Yeah.
Do you have an OJ quote that you didn't put in the book that you could share with us? Maybe something that you asked him that you found out?
No, I pretty much put every single one in, but one unique story that he did tell me was about the time when he was in college at USC, and he and a friend of his, Earl McCullough, who would go on to play for the Lions and the Saints. Those two guys generally got summer jobs at the movie studios, because in Hollywood, most of the movie studios, he said, are run by USC guys. And they were filming a movie, and OJ and Earl McCullough had just like little bit roles where I think it was called, he said it was called Death of a Gunfighter. Lena Horne was in it and somebody else. And apparently OJ and Earl would break out of this one building and run down the street. And they had to shoot the scene a second time because after, OJ said that, Earl and him, OJ, were both world-class sprinters. And so they ran down the street, and the director called them back and said, okay, now there's a difference between movie running and sprinting. And so he tried to explain to them that they had to run slower. And so later on in his life, you would think, well, that lesson did make, some sense to OJ, because when he was in the movie miniseries Roots with LeVar Burton, one of the scenes that OJ was going to do was he was going to chase down LeVar Burton. But OJ told me that LeVar Burton was running like it was a track meet. And OJ had just come from Rome, I think he said, and he was not in running shape at that time. And it was in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. And he just wasn't in any shape. So after the first take, OJ threw up. And so he was just not in shape. And so they had to retake that scene again to get LeVar Burton to slow down so the NFL MVP could catch him. So,
wow, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're going to be in the book. So, I try to add some humor to every book that I write if I can,
of course,
because that's my personality. But I also get serious with it too, because doing a book about 73 Bills, every one of those guys has been asked about O.J. Simpson
right
after he retired. And not many of them are willing to discuss their feelings. Two guys did, and they were two opposite ends of the spectrum. One guy thought that he was innocent, the other guy didn't. So,
and everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm going to keep that in mind, John, that everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm keeping that in mind.
It doesn't mean the opinions are right. It just means they're entitled to their opinions.
That's fine.
Sounds like an inside thing, yeah.
That's going to be our last segment, guys. So we're going to hold off on that one because we're going to go out.
Absolutely not.
We're going to go at it tonight with that one.
Oh boy. Well, I don't have really an opinion on it because I wasn't in the jury of his trials. I had nothing to do with it. All I know is that he was acquitted, and I needed him for my book, and that was it. I know I had to explain myself to a lot of people, including some family members, and I think they eventually came around to seeing my point of view. I I just thought that, this is for my book. He's been kind enough to say yes, and a lot of people have not been as lucky as I have to get an interview with him, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Right. What he did or did not do has no relevancy on you and him talking on the phone and you interviewing him for your book. That's what he did off the field or didn't do has nothing to do with that. So you're right.
Yeah.
And you're an author. That your job is to dig up stories and interview and do exactly what you did.
Yeah.
If anyone,
go ahead.
If anyone's ever tried to get a ex-athlete, someone, that's famous to be on the show or interview, it's not as easy as it sounds. You have to go through. You got to go through PR people. You got to go through managers. You got to get lucky. You get the right phone number.
You got to be a hard detective.
And you got to hope they say yes after all that. So I mean, it's not an easy task.
No, it's not. Especially if they're famous. If they're not as famous, you stand a decent chance. If you're going to interview an offensive lineman, you got a good chance.
Right.
Most of them aren't that famous. But you'd be surprised. I'm currently writing a book on Larry Little, former Hall of Fame guard with the Dolphins. And I wanted to talk with Manny Fernandez, who was a defensive tackle for the Dolphins, who practiced with Larry Little all those years. And Larry told me, no, he's not going to call you. He's being a jerk. And so I just crossed him off the list. And that happens sometimes.
Yep.
I think the friendliest person that I've ever interviewed, though, was Bart Starr, former Packers quarterback.
Yep.
What a nice guy. And I don't know if you've heard stories of him, but they're all true. He's a really, while he was alive, he's a really great guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what other books have you written?
Started with the NFL in the 1970s, pro football's most important decade. That came out in 2016. Then in 2019, I wrote The Year the Packers Came Back, Green Bay's 1972 Resurgence. And then in 2020, my book on my biography of Willie Lanier, Kansas City Chiefs middle linebacker, came out. And then hopefully someday soon, my biography of Bill Bradley will come out, hopefully followed by this book on the 73 Bills, and then the book on Larry Little. But in between all that, I've written a screenplay.
So, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope it gets, as a little bit of a side note, I hope it gets bought by some film producer in Hollywood. We'll see.
Well, nowadays with streaming, you never know because there's so many outlets.
Oh,
now.
My gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, all you have to do is find the right person. That's the thing. See, I don't have a whole lot of contacts in the film industry. So, In fact, I have zero. So, it's trying to get somebody to accept an unsolicited manuscript, and that's not easy. You almost have to know them or know somebody who knows them really well.
Right.
Precisely.
And that's not fair.
No, it's definitely tough. So where can people buy your books?
Best place is Amazon.com. That's the best place.
Perfect.
They generally now don't be angry with me with the prices because the publisher sets those. I don't. But the NFL in the 1970s has a lot of good staying power. It's my oldest book, and I've sold several thousand copies of it. So
wow,
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And
where can people? Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, okay.
And of course, if you're a Packers fan, the 72 Packers book is pretty good too, because it details probably one of the worst head coaches in pro football history. Former Packers coach Dan Devine.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Adam Gase or Matt Nagy.
No, we're going way back. I'm old school.
I was going to say, John, this was 72. That was.
Well, I know. I was just saying. You said one of the worst.
You guys are young.
So Matt Nagy and Adam Gase clearly have to be in that conversation.
I don't.
I'm sorry. Urban Meyer has to be number one. There
that
we
is
go. Urban Meyer's number one.
This is one thing we're going to agree on tonight. Those are all things I will not argue with. Those are absolutely.
I mean, Dan Devine gave away 5 draft picks for John Hadle, and John Hadle had like barely able to get out of his rocking chair. I mean, come on. It's just bad.
Urban Meyer doesn't know who Aaron Donald is. The greatest defensive players of all time, has no idea who he is.
That may be a little worse.
Yeah, get up.
But coaches get recycled all the time. I wouldn't be surprised to see Urban Meyer,
in college, not the NFL.
No,
He'll never touch the NFL again.
No, but he'll get
back.
The
fact that he'll get another job is the sad part.
He
might have to go to a junior college, but he'll get there. They recycle coaches all the time.
He could coach middle school or high school. I mean,
the guy that I wrote my 4th book on, Bill Bradley, he got a job as an assistant coach by pretending to be a scout. He bought a stopwatch, a clipboard, and a pair of slacks and an Eagles logo polo shirt. Went to a Senior Bowl practice. Somebody recognized him, and by that afternoon, he had a job as an assistant coach.
Wow.
So that's
the old Bobby Valentine routine. Switch it up.
And then, of course, Bill told some incredible stories about the time he almost killed Evel Knievel. That was funny. That was a funny story. Yeah, he gave him a ride in his father's pickup truck.
I can't wait to check out that book. It's going to be interesting. Joe,
I hope it gets published.
Oh, it will. I'm sure.
No, I hope so. I've been turned down a lot of publishers. They only look at the bottom line. How much money can it make? Their publishing company. But I mean, the stories that he told. I mean, he almost got beaten up by Frank Sinatra's bodyguards.
Wow.
He got a chance to have a private breakfast with the president of the United States, but stood him up in favor of going out with a girl that he just met. I mean, just incredible stuff. I mean,
wow.
It's just an incredible guy. He was able to. He talked the Secret Service into opening up their briefcase so he could see all their guns.
Wow.
Sounds like a Mr. Magoo movie or something.
Oh, he's something else. He was incredible. I went to see him last year in Texas, and I had interviewed him like 11 times over the phone, so I finally got to meet him. Oh, we had a blast. He's so funny.
That's awesome.
I just hope it gets published so that he can see it. I hope he doesn't pass away before it gets published.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you.
These guys are dropping like flies. He's in his 70s, I mean.
Goodness.
Yeah, wow. And where can people find you, Joe?
Well, I live in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but I don't really want them just knocking on my door. Just, But online, I'm on Facebook under Joseph Zagorski, and that's pretty much it, really. Amazon, you can look at my author page under my books. That's probably the 2 best ways to find me.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, telling us all about the OJ interview.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Your work. And we look forward to speaking with you again when the books drop.
Yes, of course.
You bet. I'll let you guys know as well. I'll make a lot of Facebook announcements when it comes out, if I'm not in Facebook jail. And I try to avoid that if I can.
That's always good.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that on Twitter anymore as of yesterday. But anyway, thanks a lot for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate you coming on.
No problem.
Take care, Joe.
Yep.
Have a good one, Joe.
Bye-bye.
All right, gentlemen.
Bye.
We have Lots to talk about.
If JB, right, hold on. First of all,
hold on.
Does anybody think that he kind of looks like a great value brand Drew Carey?
No.
Like an older Drew Carey, great value brand. He kind of looked like Drew Carey, like a great value brand Drew Carey.
John,
I'm just saying, kind of.
You are just starting off this night so poorly. Now, JB, if you're going to force it to be this way, we can put this last topic on the back burner and we can talk about the Nets first. I will allow that. However,
we have to talk about the biggest frauds in the NBA.
I have one request. I request that we can leave a minimum of 15 minutes for that last conversation.
I want to make sure that their Denzel Snipes stays in the comments for this. Because
we're gonna go to the mattresses on this one.
That's fine. The only other thing is, JB, I'm gonna need you to take care of out of orders for me because I can't do that because I'm on my phone now. Because I will now quickly explain to anybody that was watching. My computer decided to stop working very well, so I'm now on my phone, which is terrible.
Oh, it sounds like karma.
So, John, watch yourself. Just because I'm on my phone does not mean my voice will stop working and my thoughts will stop working as well. They still are perfectly fine. I'm gonna come at you, but we're gonna talk about the Nets first. So I'll let.
He's gonna attack your Astros. Don't you worry, Denzel. He's gonna attack your Stros.
I'm gonna attack everybody.
So let's start out with the biggest frauds in the NBA. What can you say? First time in 35 years, the team favored to win the championship gets swept in the first round.
I'll make it real simple, JB. I got one name: Ben Simmons. He didn't play, but he didn't have to be. He didn't have to be even on the court to be a distraction, a problem, an issue, whatever you want to call him. That's what he was. That's what it is. That's not the only reason. I'm not reducing this to being one problem because there are more than one problem. There's multiple things here in play, of course. So don't get me wrong. I'm not reducing it to Ben Simmons. But if you want to make it real simple, Ben Simmons, okay? He wasn't on the court, but he didn't have to be a giant distraction. I mean, that's what he was. Let's be real. He didn't do anything, in a positive way. He only just distracted the team. That's it. And it was, is he going to play? Is he not? Didn't matter if he played or not. He was
so. Beyond that, though, forget about Ben Simmons for a second. Let's start with the first problem, Kyrie Irving. I get you don't want to get vaccinated. That's your right. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But you have to suffer the consequences of your decision, so you can't play home games for most of the year. So now you put your team behind the 8 ball. Then, with that happening, you got KD playing extra minutes. You guys you're stuck playing in the play-in, and you draw the Celtics in the first round, who had a really good year, and one of the top 10 teams defensively. Maybe even better than somebody's Miami Heat.
No, definitely not.
Definitely I would agree with that, but that's fine.
Who's the number 1 seed? Thanks. Please keep going.
John, being number 1 seed means absolutely nothing, and I can tell you,
you're the best team in the East.
No,
in the regular season, John.
I'm going to tell you one of the most games in the regular season.
John, I'm going to use hockey as the perfect example. President's Trophy winner, right? I saw something today. President's Trophy winner is the number 1 team in the entire league, right?
That's a cursed trophy.
Hold on.
That's a cursed trophy.
John, I just asked a question. It means they're the number 1 team, are they not?
There's a curse attached to that. You know that.
Did I ask about curses? No. I'll ask it to JB because JB will answer this question.
It's JB, like touching the trophy when you win your conference in hockey.
JB, if you win the President's Trophy in hockey, I know you're not a big hockey guy. Does that mean you are the number 1 team? Yes or no?
I'm a big enough hockey guy to know that means you are the best team that year and have the most points overall.
Exactly. So what that means is you're the best team in the regular season.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, gentlemen, because I don't even remember how long it's been. It's been that long. When was the last time the President's Trophy winner won the Stanley Cup?
I'm going to assume the Detroit Red Wings. That's my assumption because the Red Wings were so good for so long.
How many years ago was that? That was what?
Probably early 2000s with Steve Yzerman and company. That's my assumption.
We're talking close to 20 years ago, if not possibly more.
That's my guess.
My point exactly. So being a number 1 seed means nothing.
In hockey.
Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, nothing. Okay?
It means more in football than it does in hockey or basketball.
But Aaron Rodgers is the perfect example. You give him the number 1 seed. You give him MVP, and what's he do? He gives you disappointment. That's what he does.
So you know what?
It doesn't mean anything. It just means those teams disappoint, but you have the best advantage. You have the best odds.
John. You can't say, oh, those teams, it doesn't mean anything for. But for my Miami Heat, it means something.
I'm saying the bet, like, no matter what sport it is, you have the best probability.
You should.
Best odds. So you should. John, you have the best odds.
It's the regular season. That's what being the best team means. The best team is the team that comes out on top every single year.
It's like whenever you play the lottery and you have the best odds to win the lottery.
Doesn't matter.
You're not going to complain about it just because you don't win it. You're going to be like, well, I have the best odds, I have the best chances. Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
John, the best team is the team that wins the championship.
No, that's not always true. That is
absolutely
not always true.
At the end of the year, they were the best team that year. It may include some lucky bounces. They may have gotten some luck along the way, but it doesn't matter because they are the only team remaining at the end of all of it.
Jake,
they are the one walking home with a trophy. They were the best team
when the Diamondbacks and the Marlins beat the Yankees in the World Series. Those teams were not better than the Yankees. They beat them, but they were not better teams.
They were the best team of that year.
I said they were the best team that year. I didn't say they were the better team.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, the Yankees clearly were a better team than those two teams in their respective years that they beat them.
I said they became the best team, meaning they were the team, the only team on the mountaintop that got to hold the trophy. That year, they were the best team.
To me, just because you win the championship doesn't mean that you're necessarily the best team.
The best teams don't always
Thank you, Denzel. Like, the Bengals to me,
John,
weren't the best team in the AFC.
John, why are you saying thank you? That proves my point. The number one seed, which is supposedly the best team, doesn't always win. The best team is the team that comes out on top ultimately.
No, but he just said the best team doesn't always win.
Right. The best team in the regular season doesn't always win.
Would you rather win?
Of course you want to win, but if you're telling me that the Bengals are the best team in the AFC, I can't buy that in this season. I can't buy that. You know what I'm saying?
Deb.
Like, I can't buy that.
I appreciate you and Denzel. That's a very good point, sir. We could bring up the New York Giants. They were not the best team in either season, but guess what? They beat the New England Patriots twice.
At the end of the year.
That still doesn't make them the best team.
Yes, it does.
No,
yes, it does.
Championship. What do you play for? You don't play to lose. You play to
win. I know.
You play to win the game. That's Herb Edwards.
Context matters. Context matters.
Let me ask you this question. Let me put it to you this way. What does history remember? The winners or the losers?
No, but if we're breaking it down.
That's not what I want. Just answer the question.
Hold on.
Do they remember
the breaking it down?
Or John.
And we're talking about how it went.
Remember the winners or the losers? It's a very simple question.
Let me ask you
this. What names go on the Stanley Cup?
Let me ask you.
Do they put the best players in the NHL that year? No, they put whoever won the Stanley Cup championship. They don't care who the best players were because the best players won.
Context matters.
Do you know why that is? Hold on. Do you know why that is, JB? Because history does not remember the losers. They remember the winners.
So are you telling me
losers in history?
Are you telling me if I got the Lombardi Trophy from when the Eagles won the title and it has Carson Wentz's name on it, you're going to remember Carson Wentz as a champion? Get the hell out of here.
Carson Wentz was the backup quarterback.
Get out of here.
I'm going to remember Nick Foles, Tom Brady, though. But you know what I'm going to remember, John?
But if you're going to etch names, like if you etch names in that Lombardi and Carson Wentz's name was on it, you're going to tell me you remember that? There's context to these things.
You
don't etch names in the Lombardi Trophy.
No, I'm just saying, if you did, and Carson Wentz's name was on it, would you look at in history and be like, yeah, Carson Wentz was a champion? No, you wouldn't. There's context to it.
The context is this. The starters, the guys that play the games are the guys you remember. You said Steve Yzerman before. Why do you remember him? Not only was he an absolute legend of the game,
he's a legend,
but he was a catalyst for the Red Wings for many years.
He's a Hall of Famer,
Exactly. But you remember that name. He's a guy you remember. Joe Theismann. Okay, he was a great quarterback. He was a winner. That's why we remember him. Okay? I got the perfect example. Joe Namath. There's only one reason we remember that man. One reason. Because he won.
Because he guaranteed a win and pulled it off. And that's why. Nobody's ever done that.
John, he didn't have to guarantee the win. Beating the Colts as 20-plus underdogs is why we remember him.
It was only because of the guarantee. It was only because of the guarantee.
John, if he loses that game, people don't know Joe Namath's name, but we do because history remembers the winners. That is how history is written.
Same thing. Who's the Redskins' first? Who did they win their first Super Bowl with? Who was their quarterback?
You
don't remember every one. Just because you won a championship doesn't mean people necessarily remember your name. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. His name's not memorable.
I'll remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a memorable name.
But you know what? I'll remember that Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. I know he did. And I know about it.
He won it despite himself.
It doesn't matter. History remembers the winners, which is the point.
Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Not because of Brad Johnson.
John, you play to win the game. You remember the winners. The losers get nothing. The winners are considered the best team. The idea of the game is to win.
Yes, I understand that, JB, but there's also context behind these wins.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, they beat the team.
The best team comes out on top.
All right.
The 2001 Yankees lost in Game 7, right? They were supposed to be the best team. They lost to the Diamondbacks. I remember that quite well.
Yes, I remember. Luis Gonzalez walk-off hit, yes.
Right. Yep. Why? Because the Diamondbacks, unfortunately, were the best team that year. When it came to crunch time, they won. That makes you the best team. It sucks to lose, trust me. I mean, I know winning more than losing with the Yankees because we have how many World Series titles, Jake?
27, baby.
Right. Now let's look at the Nets, who have KD, who picks where he wants to play to try and get championships. Since he's left Golden State, has done nothing to get one. Kyrie, I don't want to get my shot, Irving. And Ben, I want to look good in bench clothes, Simmons. As their big three after they traded James Big Rounds Harden. You know, this team, if you don't blow it up, if you're the Nets owner and just start over, get rid of Kyrie because he's a cancer to that team. Tell KD, you know what? I'm sending you somewhere else. Maybe LeBron needs someone to play with him. Go, be gone, and let's start over because they're frauds. KD is a fraud. Go get a burner Twitter account and start writing how great you are because you're not. How do you lose 4 games by less than 5 points when you are predicted to win the NBA championship with KD, who's arguably one of the best players in the game right now, if not number one? He is a fraud. The Nets are fraud.
Sure is. Yep. It's a simple
disgusting.
fact.
Disgusting.
The Nets blew it, and I told you, Ben Simmons, despite being on the bench,
it goes way beyond.
It's beyond Ben Simmons, though. It's beyond Ben Simmons. I mean, KD. We talked about this on the Sports Arena. Shameless plug. Derek Wilson and Ray Lynn and Megan Price and Mike Caratanudo and Tyree. Monday and Wednesday nights. Last night we talked about this. How KD hasn't done anything. Eric disagreed with us. KD hasn't done anything when it comes to winning, except he had to join Steph Curry, who JB's wearing his jersey. He had to join Steph Curry in order to go get his titles. He started with James Harden. He started with Russell Westbrook. Couldn't win anything there. Got to one championship and lost to the Heat. Was up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors, blew that, and what did he do? He decided to go and join them very Warriors the next year, just to go and get his titles. Then he goes and runs all the way to Brooklyn, gets his Kyrie, eventually gets James Harden, still can't do anything, loses James Harden, still can't do anything. Like, this guy hasn't done anything when it comes to winning, unless he rides the coattails of Steph and Clay. Like, you're right. This guy, I'm not saying he's a fraud of like his talent because he's an amazing player, but like an all-time great, I take away from him.
Team. He cannot lead a team. The only reason he won a Golden State is because Steph was there. He's not a leader. He's a fraud.
So
if I'm the Nets, I get rid of him.
So
I would take draft picks for him because they're not going to win with him. He's not the alpha dog on a team. LeBron's an alpha.
So Eric's comments. Eric made a comment last night. Because you remember the NBA 75 thing that came out this year, the top 75 of all time. And I think
I told you how much I hated it.
KD was like in top 20 or top 25.
And I would like to point out that I don't recall if you remember, and if you don't, it's perfectly fine. It was, it was a one conversation. Yeah. I said that list was a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
And I know whatever you're about to say, I'm not going to agree with most of what you say tonight. I am sure I'm going to agree with what you say in the next minute.
So, at least for that list's sake, he's top 20, top 25. Eric said last night, because Eric disagreed with us about how KD is a fraud, he said that KD needs he needs a player better than him to help him get it done. And I said, well, if he needs a player better than him and he's top 20 or top 25, that means he needs one of the greatest players of all time just in order to get it done. That takes away from his greatness for me. Because if you need Michael Jordan, if you have to have Michael Jordan or Kobe or Shaq or somebody like that just to win a championship, and you cannot do it with somebody that's 75th best all time or 100th best all time.
Like, that is one of the reasons that LeBron is always going to be at the top of those lists because he won with people on his team.
Garbage.
Yes. Yeah. But he also won with people like Kyrie, which fine.
And Wade
but he also won with teams that were absolute garbage, and he still won
garbage to the NBA Finals. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Listen, as much as I dislike LeBron, he took garbage to the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant can't win a game playing with Kyrie in Brooklyn, being the number one seed. I had enough of the frauds. Let's stop talking basketball because in New York we're done. So Boston will come out of the East. Forget about Philly. Embiid is another fraud. And Miami, good luck. Butler's not playing the next game from what I hear. So good luck with you guys.
By the way, I just want to give a shout out to Spencer Shaman. He used to be on our team. I mean, if you saw his video today on Facebook, he actually was on the WFAN, the Boomer and Geo. And that was pretty cool. He called in, and then he got a long conversation with them.
And then second time he's been on there.
They were talking with him. It was really cool. I just wanted to shout that out. That was badass.
That was awesome.
Check him out.
Yeah.
But now since we're staying in the New York area,
I'm gonna head this one.
Let Jake take over so he can tear John to shreds, and then I'm just gonna shovel the dirt on top of John.
Because John has said things that are so egregious today. I've never been in more shock. So to start this, let's point out what we're talking about. The Yankees had a letter open today from the commissioner talking about the sign stealing issues that in our case, 2015, 2016. First of all, I'm going to say it. The Yankees are no better than the Red Sox and no better than the Astros in terms of the fact that, as much as it hurts me to admit, the facts are the facts. They cheated. Period. End of story. There's no denying that. I'm never going to say that we didn't cheat. That would be a lie if I said that we didn't. However, with that, there is a clear distinction that needs to be made, and this is why, John, I took fault with what you said. Because what John said today was, and I quote, the Yankees should be punished as much, if not more, than for what the Astros were punished for. Now, here is why I have a problem with that. The Houston Astros, for those who may have forgotten, we don't know about the buzzers. As much as I wish I could say they certainly use buzzers, that was never confirmed, so I can't say that. But what we do know for a fact, it was proven, it was, they were in trouble for it. This is a fact, is they used garbage cans to bang them, to send
relay calls,
basically a coded message, if you will, to the person at the plate. So this was important because this could be done with 1 out, 2 outs, anybody, any number of people on the bases, or nobody on the bases. It could be any possible scenario that this could have occurred in. Why is that important, you might ask? Because what the Yankees did, while still cheating and not acceptable by any means, is not as bad because of one simple, minor little fact that, John, I don't know that you know. The only way the Yankees were able to do this was if there was a runner on second base. If there was no runner on second, there was no way for the Yankees to relay a message to the batter. Now, I'm not arguing that that's acceptable. Again, it's cheating and it's unacceptable no matter
that's
what.
That's big. Runner in scoring position is big.
But hold on. But it's unacceptable no matter what. And I'm saying that. And I admit that.
Yep.
However, the Astros have a different thing. They could know any pitch at any given moment if they wanted to. And that's the difference between the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Astros. And that's why the Astros were worse. The Yankees were bad. They did it with runners in scoring position, and that's fine. But here's the thing, John. If a man was on third, let's say somebody got a single,
Who?
and then anybody, it doesn't matter. A Yankees player gets a single. It doesn't matter. We'll just say DJ LeMahieu. It really doesn't matter for this argument. Then Brett Gardner gets another single that puts LeMahieu on third. Gardner's on first. And then just for argument's sake, we'll say Gio Urshela, one of the, at the time, I don't even think was on the team. So I'm going back, but I'm trying to use a Yankee from the past few years that would have been possibly involved in something like this, right? Not a power hitter by any means. He was a good player. He was a great base hitter. But here's the thing. Nobody was ever on second in this scenario. Therefore, there's no way for a message to be relayed to Urshela, from LeMahieu at third or Gardner at first back to Urshela at the home plate at bat. And that's the difference. Because in the Astros, if you switch those players, right, in the Astros scenario, that Astros batter could sure as heck know what's coming and could drive in potentially, at least one, if not both runners, depending on the hit they get. The Yankees could not do that. And that is the most important thing to point out. It's bad, but it's a difference maker, because if you don't have a guy on second, which is what this system relied on, they couldn't do what the Astros could do at any given at bat if they so choose. And that is why the Yankees are bad. They've already gotten in trouble and shouldn't be punished like the Astros. I also still believe the Astros were just not nearly punished enough, but that is a whole different argument that I don't think anybody here would ever debate me on, because I think we all agree the Astros were not nearly punished enough.
They only got away with their punishment because COVID struck, and then there was no fans.
I understand.
They served their punishment with no fans, so they didn't have to eat crow for 162 games, because the year that they were supposed to eat the crow was the year that the pandemic hit, and it's like a get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? So that's why it didn't feel as satisfactory to, at least to me, as a fan of baseball, didn't feel quite like, we got justice as fans.
I think regardless, the Astros should have been punished more, no matter what.
Yeah,
players should have been suspended.
A completely different.
There should have been draft pick compensation stuff, but that's fine. But that's why I disagree with you, John. I'm never going to argue that they didn't cheat. They cheated, and that's a fact. But there's a distinction between the two that makes one, in my opinion at least, worse than the other. Cheating is cheating. That's a fact. But there's different forms of cheating and different degrees of severity.
It doesn't compare. One doesn't compare to the other. Go ahead, John.
The only reason that part of it is home. You're obviously a Yankees fan, so you're going to be biased. That's human nature. That's how it's going to be. But I think if the Astros didn't win the championship and they didn't beat your team specifically, I think that maybe your mindset changes a little bit, because the championship changes things. You know what I mean? They cheated and they won the championship. So it's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? It's like if the Patriots cheated and won a championship, it's going to look worse.
Did.
But
we've seen that happen before.
Like, we don't make as big a deal about the Falcons or the Colts whenever they, in their domes, they would make artificial sound to hurt the opposing teams. We don't make as big a deal of that because they didn't win a championship with it. But whenever you win a championship with cheating, you know what I mean? It amplifies and it makes it worse, because you're like, oh, well, the only reason you won is because you took this or you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, it amplifies it when you win a championship. It makes it
seem worse. But you don't think
worse.
that there's a difference? Hang on one second. You don't think it seems worse that the Astros on any at-bat could send in the sign so that their hitter would know the pitch, and possibly, which we can't confirm, more devices to signal what pitch it was. But definitely the trash that was in play to any batter, where other teams, specifically the Red Sox and Yankees, had to have specific situations in play in order to do the same thing. You don't think there's any difference to that?
No, I don't. I think that there's potentially. I think where there's smoke, there's fire.
Murder and robbery.
This is sports. There's nobody's murdering anybody in this. It's way different than committing an actual crime of. You know what I mean?
No, you know what? To JB's point, I think I'll put it like this: there's degrees to murder. It's a terrible example to have to use, but it works. No, but it works, right? One is premeditated. One is an accident. The point being, I think what JB's getting at is, one, everything you do is deliberate and intentional. The other, things just happen. Now, I'm not saying that's what the Yankees versus Astros is. I'm not saying that. But my point is,
I would use murder for both of them. I would say murder and robbery.
But here's the thing about it, though. They're both murder at the end of the day. Just like the Yankees and Astros are both still cheating at the end of the day. But one is considerably worse than the other. Why? Because the way one happened was, in the case of murder, premeditated. The case of the Astros, it could happen at any time. The way of the Yankees is kind of like the unintentional version of murder. Again, a weird example, I know, but it still works, right? It's still bad. You still killed a person. It is not positive. But it's a little better because in the Yankees scenario, it couldn't happen at any given moment. It was just, okay, certain moments it could work. So again, it's a very weird example, but one is clearly worse than the other for a reason. This is the same thing. The Yankees are bad. It was a terrible thing. I am disgusted as a fan. I'm annoyed as a baseball fan, as a Yankee fan, all of that.
Yeah, I mean,
But ultimately, there are degrees to cheating, and that's what we have to understand about.
Go on, JB. You were going to say something.
And Deb, is my point right there. Exactly my point.
The Denzel's comment on the trash can, stadiums are loud. The only person that knew that the trash can, what it meant, was the batter. You're in a loud stadium. You're not listening for noises, to hear banging. You, as a fan or as an opposing player, it's just a noise. But if you know that you're going to hear 2 bangs, it's a fastball, 3 bangs is a changeup, 4 bangs is a curveball.
But how the hell is nobody hearing a banging of a trash can?
People did.
Like you said.
John, people
it's
heard
not
it,
like fans are bringing in big barrel trash cans into the stadium.
People, to answer your question, people did hear it. And I hate to keep using the Yankees, but this was a really big example, and it was actually one of the reasons the Astros got caught. Aaron Boone actually heard it and straight up called them out on it. And the MLB ended up investigating kind of, not exactly as a result of that, but they were caught because people did hear them.
So in our day and age.
To this real quick. Oh, no, this one. Sorry. Excuse me. I'm on my phone. Murder is murder. Yes, cheating is cheating. And that's my point. I agree. But to that, there is a degree of difference. And that's the point. I'm not disagreeing that the Yankees did something wrong and cheated as a result. It pains me to say it, but cheating is cheating, and that is true. But there's different degrees for a reason.
So in our day and age, with everything is recorded, like everything you do and say, like somebody just whips out their phone or whatever and records it. How did they not record a big trash can getting banged on?
They did.
Like, with all these. No, I'm saying fans. Like fans don't catch that because fans always want clout. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that not get called?
People did.
No, I'm saying it's like right away. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as something happens in today's day and age, somebody does something stupid, boom, it's immediately viral and everybody sees it. It's just crazy how it didn't get caught like that. I just think that's, it's
nothing ever gets caught like that, John. With the greedier you get because you got away with it for a little bit and it worked, you keep doing it. And when you keep doing it and you keep doing it, that's when you get caught because you got greedy. You got away with it for so long, instead of saying, nah, we're done. No, let's keep doing it. Come on, now let's get the buzzers. Now, come on, let's see, we'll put a camera there. And you keep trying to find better ways to improve your system because you got greedy. And that goes for the Yankees, too. It doesn't mean that what they did was right because I'm cheating. Like, I agree, cheating is cheating. It's not acceptable. But I'm sure if they kept getting away with it, they would have looked for better ways to improve the system. So they could have gotten it eventually. That's what people do. People get greedy.
You're a gambler. You know how that gets whenever you have like your FanDuel on a Sunday or you put money down on like tennis or basketball or something. You know what I mean? Like, how those things go when you put a parlay out and you're like, come on, and you got all but one, then you're mad at the Canes for blowing a game they shouldn't lose. Like, how it is.
Exactly. Exactly. They lost to the better team. Detroit was a much better team. They still are.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, at the end of the day, though, John, this is the thing that somehow you have yet to debate me on, which I'm actually happy about as we're running out of time. And we do have a couple minutes, so
I don't think it's something we're debating per se. I'm listening to what you're saying.
In our chat today. No, I'm just saying. But today you wrote in our chat the Yankees should be punished harder, if not the same, at the least, as the Astros, and that's where I disagree. I completely disagree.
No. Once you cheat, you're no longer better. In order to be better, you have to play the game. Once you cheat, that's it.
Real quick, back to what I was saying. The thing is, John, they shouldn't be hurt or I guess punished in the same way because of the difference in the way they did it and the severity, and also the fact that this happened years ago and they've been punished already. Like, this letter was unveiled, but if you read up on this, the Yankees were punished already for what they did. Like, this is basically the commissioner knew about it, punished them, and has moved on from it since. This just happens to be opened now, but the punishment is.
So why open the letter now? You know what I mean? Like, why reveal it now?
Honestly,
because there was a court case for it.
The Yankees were trying to hide it because that's what big, people.
That's a billionaire's
people lots of money. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But eventually, the court said no. We're opening it. F off. This is the end of it. We're done. That's it. That's why. That's why it was open. That's exactly why.
No, unfortunately, it still goes to degrees of cheating, Denzel.
I don't believe so. I think cheating is cheating.
The better team. No, it's both wrong, but there's degrees.
I think if you cheat once or you cheat 5 times, you're still a cheater.
No.
I don't think you can say, well, I only did it once and that guy did it 5 times. I think you're in this.
I disagree with that because
you both did it.
Cheat and you get caught and you learn from your lesson. Good. If you don't learn from your lesson and you do it again, you're worse off. Simple as that. But
I can't get.
I don't know. With that all being said, the Yankees are the best team ever, but we're not going to win a World Series because we have Garrett Cole, so it doesn't really matter.
You can't be the best team ever. You didn't win it.
Statistically, we are based on championship wins.
No. You did not win it this year, so you're not the best team ever.
We didn't say this year. We said the best team ever, meaning we, based on numbers, have the most championships, which is what determines the best teams.
The amazing thing is, if you went before we wrap up, if you pick best players per position, top 3 per position, you probably have a Yankee in every position. But after saying that, let's have a great night and let's wrap up. Jake, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm going to defer to John first, only because I got to do my special shtick, my shtick at the end. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, you can find me in Las Vegas this week for the NFL draft. Blue Hawks 13. I mean, we're everywhere. Sideline Sports is literally everywhere. And we have so many shows. I can't name them all, but if you go to thesportsarena1.com, you can find our laundry list of shows and all of our social media. You can check out Sideline Sports literally everywhere. We, not just us 4 on the network, but we have so many great people that do so many damn great things. I'm so proud of every person on our network. They're just doing amazing things, and I want to shout out. I can't name everybody right now, and every show they do.
We'd be here way too long.
Yeah, but dude, trust me, like, our network is amazing, and the
people check us out. That's the point. Check us out.
7 nights a week.
Yep.
You know it. JB, you're up, sir.
JB_ the program. Catch me at 11 for Confidential. Catch me tomorrow, South Florida Tribune, their football show. See you guys then, but that's about it for tonight. I'm done.
All right. Well, you guys know where to find me. You can find me on Twitter at Jake_Mallett. But most importantly, as per every single week, you can find Sideline Sports in the following places. As you see on the bottom of your screen, as it scrolls across, Instagram and Twitter is Sideline Sport 1. YouTube and Facebook is Sideline Sports. DBNA Television, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are absolutely everywhere. As John said, we'll be at the draft this week. So check us out for plenty of content this weekend. With that, everybody have a good one. And we will see you. Actually, we'll see you pretty soon because we're going to have some draft content.
I got 1 second. Pay attention next week. Lots more big news.
Oh, yes.
Another big announcement.
There you go.
Big breaking news.
Later.
Indeed. Everybody have a good one.